Hello, everybody. We continue our study under this wonderful series topic, Faithful Witnesses Testify to God's Promises. Faithful witnesses testify to God's promises. That's what faithful witnesses do. We start with women in leadership. That was the first lesson. The example was Deborah, a leader in national emergency. That was followed by last week's wishing and hoping and praying. We're all familiar with all three. We do one every other minute, all three every day. Wishing and hoping and praying. The example is Hannah, a godly mother. Today we're looking at a forever bond, a forever bond. Forever, unending, limitless, everlasting bond, a lifelong commitment. The example is Jonathan and David, a noble friendship, an honorable friendship, upright friendship. It's a bond built on unconditional trust, unwavering loyalty. That's what this bond is. In the passage that we're going to look at today is 1 Samuel chapter 18, 1 through 4, chapter 20, 16 and 17, 32, 33, and 34. Then it moves to 2 Samuel chapter 1, 26 and 27, and chapter 21, verse 7. I'll say it again in case you want to write that down if you don't have a book or the handout. It's 1 Samuel chapter 18, 1 through 4, chapter 20, 16 and 17, 32 through 34, and 42. Then it moves to 2 Samuel chapter 1, 26 and 27, then chapter 21 of 1 Samuel, verse 7. That's 2 Samuel. This is June 21st, 2026 lesson. Father's Day. Look at this statement out of the Bible repository. It says, we must recognize that true friendship requires effort, vulnerability, and even sacrifice. True friendship, real friendship, a genuine friendship requires effort. So we start with the unifying principle. That's the highlights of the lesson. It's like a mini summary. It says, amid danger and troubles, we may desire support from a trustworthy friend. What it's talking about, in the midst of troubles and tough times, we need a friend. We need a friend we can trust. But how does a friend prove trustworthy in a difficult situation? Well, Jonathan proved a trustworthy friend to David despite his father, King Saul's paranoia. And David honored their friendship by providing for his son Mephibosheth after Jonathan's death. That's a true friend. That's what friends are for. So we start off, the first subtopic is the depth of friendship, the level of profound emotional intimacy. It moves friendship beyond casual. That's what this is, the depth of friendship. So what we find is the jealousy of Saul over the success of David, a picture of jealousy and envy. To give it some context, This verse is an important bridge in the story of David and Saul. Prior to this moment, we witnessed David's tremendous victory over Goliath. We know the story, which changed the course of Israel's history. Many think that after the killing of the giant that David would return to his life as a shepherd. But this didn't happen. Saul was so grateful because what David did just saved him some embarrassment. He was called out. Goliath called out Saul. Saul was afraid. David came and said, I'll take him. I'll fight him. And Saul was grateful to that. He gave him all of his gear to fight his battle. So he was grateful. But he didn't realize that David would become so popular, that they had a chant. Saul has this 10,000 and David has this 20,000, something to that effect. So he became jealous, very jealous. So we see Jonathan, Saul's son, loved David like a brother. Verse 1 said, and it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. Here we witness a significant moment in the lives of two key biblical figures. Jonathan, the son of King Saul, and David, the future king of Israel. Now, the essence of this passage lies in the phrase, the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David. Now, this suggests a deep and profound bond formed between them, one that would withstand many trials and tribulations. It serves as a beautiful example of true friendship, one based on mutual respect, admiration, and love. This is completely platonic. Saul honored David by elevating him in the king's court permanently. Verse 2, he says, and Saul took him that day and would let him go no more home to his father's house. He was that grateful. Saul takes David and establishes him in his royal service. It signifies the start of David's new identity as a warrior and a leader in Saul's administration. This shift is not just about formal duty, but it also hints the unique bond that is beginning to develop between Saul and David, along with the eventual strains that would arise from it, and it would come later. Jonathan, the king's son and future prince, made a covenant with David in verse 3. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant because he loved him as his own soul. Now, when we look at this phrase, loved him as his own soul, it highlights the depth of their friendship. This expression indicates that Jonathan, despite being the prince, chose to love David without jealousy or resentment. He recognized David's gift and potential while willingly submitting to the fact that David was chosen by God. See, David was chosen by God, and Saul was chosen by the people. He recognized this gift. Now, this is truly a remarkable quality. Instead of viewing David as a rival, Jonathan embraced him as a friend and ally. So we see that he acknowledged David as the future king in verse 4. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was upon him and gave it to David and his garments, even to his sword and to his bow and to his girdle. See, when he removes his robe and gives it to David, he is not just handing over clothing. He is symbolically bestowing upon David his own status and honor. It's an act of humility. That's what it is. It's an act of recognition of David's future as king. That's what this is. This is a striking contrast to what we might expect from someone in Jonathan's position. Instead of clinging to his own royal privileges, he chooses to promote someone who could be seen as a threat to his own legacy. He gave David his own royal clothing and weapons. Then Jonathan made several requests of David. He requested that the Lord judge and condemns David's enemies. So we move to chapter 20, verses 16 and 17. Verse 16 says, "So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, 'Let the Lord even require it at the hand of David's enemies.'" It was not just a mere casual promise, but a vow that encompassed their hopes for the future. Jonathan invokes the Lord to hold relevant partners accountable for any actions taken against David, highlighting the sacred nature of his promise. And then he requested that David reaffirms the covenant between them because of their brotherly love for one another. And Jonathan calls David to swear again because he loved him, for he loved him as he loved his own soul. The act of causing David to swear again speaks to the seriousness of their bond. Jonathan deeply cared for David, showing a love that was so significant, it reflected a connection that went far beyond mere friendship. Jonathan loved David as he loved his own soul. This is a beautiful demonstration of loyalty, love, and trust in relationships. You have a friend like that? So we see the second subtopic, standing firm in adversity. This is 1 Samuel chapter 20, 32, 3 and 4, then verse 42. Jonathan responded by asking what crimes David had committed in verse 32. What crimes? And Jonathan answered Saul, his father, and said unto him, "Wherefore shall he be slain? What hath he done?" Saul was jealous now. He had rage in his heart and in his mind. This verse showcases a pivotal moment where Jonathan, son of King Saul, pleads for the life of his friend David. The depth of Jonathan's loyalty and love for David is highlighted here. It is not merely a question of love, life and death now. It reveals the complexities of relationships that are intertwined with politics and family loyalty and personal convictions. Jonathan understands the peril David is in, yet he confronts his father Saul boldly. This illustrates the tension between familial loyalty to his father and his commitment to friendship with David. Look what happened here. Saul hurled his spear at Jonathan, attempting to kill his very own son. Verse 33. NIV says, "But Saul threw his spear at him to strike him. So Jonathan knew that it was the decision of his father to put David to death." He wanted to kill David. He wanted to kill him. This moment serves as a pivotal point in Jonathan's relationship. Jonathan realizes the lengths to which his father will go to kill David, which forces him to choose sides. Jonathan's understanding of his father's intention signals the end of their relationship in this dramatic capacity. He now has to protect David from his dad's wrath, even at the risk of displeasing his father. Jonathan jumped up and left in fierce anger, knowing the truth. Saul was set on killing David. He was so grieved that he could not eat because of Saul's treatment of his friend David. Verse 34 says, "Jonathan sprang up from the table in fierce anger and ate no food on the second day of the month, for he was grieved for David and because his father had disgraced him." Jonathan's reaction demonstrates the depth of his loyalty to David and the painful reality he faces. This incident shows how relationships can be strained by family loyalty and personal relationship. The verse emphasizes that he did not indulge in eating as a result of his grief. Instead, Jonathan's anger and emotional distress caused him to abandon the meal altogether. Then Jonathan assured David of his friendship in verse 42. Then Jonathan said to David, "Go in peace, since both of us have sworn in the name of the Lord, saying, 'The Lord shall be between me and you, and between my descendants and your descendants forever.'" He got up and left, and Jonathan went into the city. In this moving moment, we witnessed the bittersweet farewell between two deep friends, Jonathan and David. It encapsulates the essence of loyalty, love, and trust. The verse paints a beautiful picture of their friendship, established not just on personal affection, but also on a commitment made before God. Here, Jonathan, the son of King Saul, acknowledges their bond and instructs David to go in peace. The third subtopic is honoring a friend's legacy. We move to 2 Samuel, chapter 1, 26 and 27, then chapter 21, verse 7. Because David himself had lost his brother, closest friend and confidant, who had sacrificially supported him. In verse 26, "I am distressed for you, my brother Jonathan. Greatly beloved were you to me. Your love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women." This verse expresses deep grief and profound connection between David and Jonathan. David's sorrow upon hearing of Jonathan's death reveals the depth of their friendship. He cherished Jonathan, recognizing that their bond extended beyond ordinary friendship. The phrase "more wonderful than that of women" accentuates the intense and unique nature of their relationship, highlighting the loyalty and love that they shared. Then there is the painful tragedy and outcome of war in verse 27. "How the mighty have fallen, and the weapons of war perished." The phrase "how are the mighty fallen" resonates deeply as it reflects loss and sorrow. This lament highlights not just the personal loss that David felt, but also symbolizes the tragic fate of a nation. The phrase signifies a moment of reflection, not just on the fallen warriors, but on their impact and what their absence means for the future. Gone but never forgotten. David carried out the request for justice in chapter 21, verse 7. It says, "But the king spared Mephibosheth, the son of Saul's son Jonathan, because of the oath of the Lord that was between them, between David and Jonathan, son of Saul." The term "spared" signifies not merely physical survival, but also the acknowledgement of a familial bond rooted in friendship and loyalty. David honored the covenant he had made with Jonathan. This love friendship serves as a model for us today, underscoring the importance of keeping our promises and being compassionate toward others, regardless of their past or familial ties. Friendship. Look at this principle. Each of us has the potential to be a source of strength and encouragement for those around us, bringing light to dark times and stability during life's storms. We are our brother's keepers. We should look out for one another. I want to thank you for being here. See you again next time.